Carmela Soprano walks down a hallway in her North Caldwell McMansion, wearing $500 shoes and a diamond ring big enough to qualify as a small planet. She opens a bedroom door. She sees a girl she used to look down on, and in the next 10 seconds, with one word and one tiny, crooked half smile, Edie Falco quietly demolishes her own character on television. The word is, oh, that's the whole knife. Tonight, we're going to talk about why it cuts so deep. To understand why this moment lands like a sledgehammer, you have to understand what Hunter Scangarello represents inside the world of The Sopranos. For years, Hunter is Meadows' troublemaker friend.
Now my wife feels this friend is a bad influence.
The bad influence. The girl Carmela quietly blames every time Meadows stays out too late or talks back. Hunter is the friend who tried to score crystal meth from Christopher Moltisanti's apartment back in season 1.
Kicked out for partying and drunk driving.
Hunter is the one who got kicked out of Reed College for partying and drunk driving. Hunter is, in Carmela's mental file cabinet, the reason her daughter isn't perfect. Because Meadow couldn't possibly have problems that came from inside the house, right? The house with the marble foyer and the husband who comes home with blood on his shirt twice a season. So Hunter becomes a scapegoat, a useful one. As long as Hunter is the screw-up, Carmela's parenting stays clean. Then in the finale, Hunter shows up at the Soprano home to visit Meadow, and the bad influence isn't a bad influence anymore.
I'm in my second year of med school.
She's in her second year of medical school, and Carmela has nowhere to put that. Let's look at the scene itself. Carmela opens the door of Meadows' bedroom. Hunter is there. They greet each other. Carmela takes a small jab about Hunter quitting college. Hunter, classy about it, corrects her. She didn't quit. She got kicked out for partying and drunk driving. Carmela says, well, that was always you, and then asks what she's up to now. Hunter says it. She's in her second year of medical school. Watch Carmela's face. There's a beat, a tiny micro beat, where you can see her brain process the information. The mouth almost forms a word, and what comes out is one syllable. Oh.
I'm in my second year of med school.
Oh.
The exact same sound you'd make if someone told you the weather forecast. Then she gives that little tilted half smile, the kind a politician gives when a reporter asks something they didn't prep for. Her eyes drop to the floor. She says something brief to Meadow, and she closes the door without ever looking at Hunter again. Now think about who Carmela is.
Yadro. I don't even want to say how much it costs. $3,000.
Carmela is the woman who, when teenage Devin Pillsbury visits the house, casually informs her young guest that the Yadro figurine costs $3,000. Her exact words? I don't even want to say how much it costs. $3,000. Carmela is the woman who, when Gloria Trillo gives her a ride home from the Mercedes dealership, keeps steering the conversation toward Meadow being at Columbia, fishing for the brag. Carmela brags. Carmela performs. Carmela has a brochure for her own life, and she will read it to you out loud at the slightest provocation. This is a woman with a script, and when Hunter says med school, the script doesn't have a page for it. So Carmela goes silent. She can't even fake a congratulations. She can't muster a, that's wonderful. She can't even do the thing she does for free, which is the polite, plastic, North Jersey housewife, good for you, sweetheart, because if she says it out loud, she gives it weight, and she can't give it weight. Giving it weight means accepting what it implies, which is the entire rest of this video. Carmela Soprano lives by a hierarchy. She knows where everybody belongs in it, and she knows where she belongs, which is near the top. She bullies the people below her and grovels to the people above her. We have an entire show's worth of evidence for this. When she sits with AJ's guidance counselor, Robert Wegler, a man with a college degree and a fluency in literary references she doesn't have, she becomes a deferential, almost schoolgirl version of herself.
Hey, have you read Madame Bovary?
Wegler recommends Madame Bovary, a novel about a bored, frustrated housewife who pursues adulterous affairs to escape the emptiness of bourgeois life. Which, if you've been paying attention, is a punchline so sharp it could cut glass. But put Carmela in front of a teenager, or a friend in a smaller house, or her son's classmate, and suddenly Carmela is a queen, issuing edicts about the price of porcelain. The hierarchy is the engine. It's the thing that lets her live with herself. Because Carmela has a problem. The problem is that her entire lifestyle, the house, the shoes, the rings, the Porsche Cayenne, like the pepper, is paid for with money her husband generates by hurting people, by extorting, by stealing, by occasionally killing. And the only way Carmela can hold all of that and still look in the mirror is by believing that she is, somehow, on a higher rung than the people around her. Forget Tony. She's resigned to Tony. We're talking about other women, other wives, other mothers. Angie Bonpensiero, Irina, Ginny Sack, and definitely her daughter's teenage friend who used to try to buy meth in Christopher Moltisanti's apartment. Then the teenager grows up and becomes a doctor, and the entire hierarchy tilts under Carmela's feet. Here's where it gets brutal. Because Carmela has been telling herself a story for 6 seasons, the story is, Meadows' problems aren't my fault. They aren't Tony's fault. They aren't the family business's fault. They are because of these other kids. These bad influences. This Hunter Scangarello girl. That's the story. That's the cope. And Hunter, by simply existing in adulthood, incinerates it. Because if the supposed bad influence can leave the Soprano orbit and end up in her 2nd year of medical school, then the original theory falls apart. The girl Meadow grew up with walks away and thrives. The girl who stays, Meadow herself, drifts. You don't need a PhD to read that data. Meadow had every advantage. Money, schools, a Columbia degree. And what does Meadow choose? Meadow dates Jackie Aprile Jr. and watches him spiral into the family business. Meadow argues at her own dinner table that the mafia is just a cultural response to historic discrimination. And by the finale, Meadow has dropped her medical school plans for law school. Why? Because her fiancé, Patrick Parisi, son of Patsy Parisi, one of Tony's soldiers, has inspired her to defend white-collar criminals at a firm called Groupman, and Curseo.
That's why we want to over Groupman, and Curseo.
$170,000 a year, defending the kind of men her father drinks with. Meanwhile, Hunter, with no cayenne and no Yadro, is going to be a physician. Hunter doesn't have to say any of this. She doesn't have to gloat. She doesn't have to drop a line about how getting away from your daughter was the best thing that ever happened to me, Mrs. Soprano. She doesn't need to. Carmela hears it anyway, because Carmela is not a stupid woman. That's the tragedy of Carmela. She is intelligent enough to know what's happening to her in real time and not honest enough to do anything about it. So she stands in the doorway and she says, "Oh," and she closes the door. And the door is the only thing in the scene with any dignity. This scene is not happening in a vacuum. The Sopranos is a show that loves to put Carmela next to another woman and watch her face.
Is that a Porsche?
Angie Bonpensiero, widow of a man Tony helped kill, quietly rebuilds her late husband's body shop into something profitable. And when Carmela tries to flaunt her shiny new Cayenne, Angie casually mentions she just bought herself a Corvette with her own money. Cut to Carmela's face. The look. Gloria Trillo drives her home from the dealership, plays dumb about Columbia, refuses to give Carmela the opening to brag. Cut to Carmela's face. Same look.
Oh.
And Carmela learned this look from somewhere. We've seen her own mother, Mary, at Hugh DeAngelis' 75th birthday party,
I'm sorry for everything.
apologize to her snobbish friends because Tony was being too loud, too vulgar, twirling sausages, telling off-color jokes. Carmela inherited the half smile. She inherited the closing door. She inherited the entire wardrobe of envy disguised as politeness. It's generational. It's a family heirloom passed down like a string of pearls. And just as fake. Edie Falco plays the whole inheritance in one syllable. Oh, one syllable. A whole confession. Here's the quiet, devastating thing the scene is really doing. Carmela has spent the entire series building a version of herself that depends on other people being slightly worse than she is. Hunter doing well doesn't just disprove the bad influence theory. Hunter doing well, on her own, with no mob behind her, no McMansion under her, proves that the whole arrangement was always optional. Carmela could have left. Dr. Krakauer told her exactly that years earlier, when he refused to take her money because it was, in his words, blood money. He told her to take only the children, what's left of them, and go. She didn't. She had options. She always had options. She chose the shoes. And the show is generous to her in a way. It doesn't make her say any of that out loud. It gives her one syllable, one crooked smile, and one closing door. And it trusts the audience to do the math. That's why this scene is such a perfect, brutal microcosm of who Carmela Soprano actually is. The whole show distilled. A woman with a Virginia ham under her arm, crying because she has no bread. Oh, is the sound of a hierarchy collapsing. It's the sound of a story Carmela told herself for years, losing its load-bearing wall. It's the sound of David Chase, in one syllable, telling you everything you need to know about the woman in the diamond ring. Tell me in the comments, what's the single moment in The Sopranos where you think Carmela's mask slips the most? Is it this one? Is it the Whitecaps fight when Irina calls the house? Is it the crack hour session? Drop your pick below, and if you want more deep cuts on this show, subscribe.